Like clockwork, another 2 weeks have gone by since we last checked in at Orlando's newest theme park, Universal Epic Universe. The construction progress continues to move at a record pace to meet Universal's goal of opening before the summer of 2025 next year. From the tent top beginning to be stretched across the frame in the wizarding world of Harry Potter Ministry of Magic, to a werewolf being hung on the side of a wagon at the entrance to Curse of the Werewolf in Dark Universe, to Yoshi's Adventure sign hung above the entrance to the ride in the Mushroom Kingdom at Super Nintendo World. All of this and more in this week's Universal Epic Universe Construction Update, with our aerial views provided to us as always by BioReconstruct. It is really getting hard to keep up with all of the little things going on in and around Epic Universe every flight, but before we get into the park itself, let's check in on the two sister resorts just south of Epic Universe at Stella Nova and Terra Luna. At both resorts, the traffic circles that direct guests to different areas of the resorts are nearly completed with their colorful concrete. Terra Luna's colorful exterior tiles are coming to a close, nearing completion. Both pool areas have notable changes as well this update, which includes trees being planted inside of the circular concrete shapes at Terra Luna, as well as a significant amount of concrete walkways being poured around the pool at Stella Nova. In just over 6 months' time, at the beginning of 2025, Stella Nova will be opening its doors to greet guests, and from the look of everything on the outside, Universal is surely well on the way. Next door, Terra Luna opens in just over 7 months' time, and it is making strides to pick up the pace to be ready for the grand opening in February. As we make our way towards the entrance to the park, the garden between the parking lot and the security plaza has turned a luscious green in recent weeks as the landscaping in the area continues to develop. Through all of the trees, new walkways are beginning to appear, snaking their way through the garden towards the entrance. The smallest courtyard has now begun to receive its colorful concrete, which is the last of the 3 courtyards to do so. Near the ticketing windows, we can see a newly planted palm tree inside of a circular concrete wall. Stretching from this wall, we can see another colorful concrete pattern reaching out towards the security plaza where more concrete has been poured. From underneath the security plaza, concrete is now making its way towards the Kronos Tower inside this courtyard. Just inside of Celestial Park, new trees have been planted around Luna Overlook, giving the forested feel that we have seen in the renderings. Nearby, at the new dining locations, a false wall can be seen being constructed on the roofline, giving the structure a significantly taller look from Celestial Park than it actually is being built. Near the front of Stardust Racers, more landscaping is taking place around the comet theming where the tracks cross head-on. Behind the coaster building, another section of the extended queue area has been poured farthest from the entrance and exit to the coaster building. In the heart of Celestial Park sits Constellation Carousel, which is once again one of the most changed attractions this update. On top of the rotunda, a cloud-themed covering has been installed to match the large panels that we have seen being installed for the last several updates. More of these large panels can be seen being lifted into place this update, which are the long skinny panels that reach into the water feature. Just outside of the entrance to Constellation Carousel, a large courtyard continues to be shaped with concrete forms, which we can assume will be filled with colorful concrete, which we see in every corner of Celestial Park. This is no different at the interactive splash pad of Astronomica, which has had its colorful concrete finally poured. Near the wooded front of the Oaken Star Tavern, new trees have been planted around Celeste Tiki Bar and the neighboring kiosk, which one we believe will be a Starbucks. Across the show fountain sits Meteor Astropub, which now has been completely walled in. The last curved wall on the Wizarding World side of the building has been walled in, and a new ribbon concrete wall has been formed in front of this site. At the top of the show fountain, the colorful concrete star shape has been completed. Overshadowing this star sits the park's on-site resort of Helios Grand Hotel, where near the right side of the hotel tower, a new spherical element has been installed on a lower bump out of the hotel. On the roof, high above Celestial Park, the base of the copper roof that will line the center dome above the bar and lounge area has been installed with triangle cut panels reaching towards the peak. Next to the lounge, above the ballroom, several consecutive copper panels have now been installed. On the ground below the tower, inside of the resort's pool area, the concrete foundations we saw being formed last update have been poured and covered in a black lining. These foundations have the right size and shape to be private cabanas that guests of the hotel can rent for the day. The pool bar support building has also begun to be fully walled in as shaping around the pool continues. Before entering the newest Wizarding World of Harry Potter, based inside of the streets of Paris, the smaller ring on top of the portal plate has begun to be themed. Just inside of the entry portal, it appears that all of the trees inside of this part of the land have been planted. Before guests make their way into the full-size Parisian streets, guests are met by the large replica arch, which has been surrounded by scaffolding once again. Making our way down the first street, we run into the entrance to the theater show. This entrance has a large tent which has seen the top beginning to be installed. Workers can be seen stretching the top to the last section to the left of the entrance. Last update, we saw significant excavation work going on around a tree well at one of the dead ends of the land. This area has seen the completion of this tree well, and several areas of concrete have been poured, making this area look like a small park. On the rooftop above this area, a new billboard has been installed with a themed drink advertisement. On the backside of the Parisian streets, we can see a new framing structure is being worked on while on the ground. This frame should be lifted into place on top of the existing turret structure nearby. Just past the entrance to the theater building, towards the entrance to the feature ride of the land, some of the scaffolding has been removed, revealing completed themed facades. Behind the feature ride in the extended queue area, we can see that roofing has been installed. We're too far away to tell if this roofing is metal or some translucent covering like what is found at the Hogwarts Express stations. On the other side of Celestial Park sits the land based off of Universal Monsters' Dark Universe. Like the progress being made on the Wizarding World portal, a new feature has been installed on top of the portal plate for Dark Universe. This feature, however, looks like something similar to what is found at the highest part of the portal. In addition to this element being installed, scaffolding has been erected around the portal to shape the roots around the portal plate. On the backside of the portal, shingles are being installed on the themed roof above the exit to the portal. This leads guests into the graveyard lined with monuments and headstones as they make their way into the village of Darkmoor. Inside of the village, there have been a few sections of scaffolding reinstalled to work on the facades of one of the land's shops. Above the entrance to Das Steakhouse, we can see several very detailed windows have been installed, adding the Gothic look to the village. On the rooftops above, there have been several new areas where the shingles have been given an aged look, seen by the different colored shingles. Something to note as well, these shingles are not perfectly installed, as we can see several of them look to be installed crooked. Just inside of the Dark Forest, guests are met by the spinning roller coaster of Curse of the Werewolf, where the barn in the middle of the coaster track, which houses the swing launch, has seen its roof age with a mossy look. We can assume that the coaster building will have the same look in the near future. On the side of one of the wagons at the entrance to the coaster, a new werewolf has been installed, which will be a part of the sign for the coaster. Across the pathway, we find Frankenstein's Manor, which has seen several new roofing elements placed matching the ones we saw installed last update. There are themed elements staged below the bridge that guests walk over to get into the manor. These elements will be installed on the left side of the entrance near the roofline, where the two orange shapes are located. On the left side of the manor, looking through the scaffolding, we can see large window openings represented at the numbers 1 and 2. Below the bridge that guests will cross before entering the manor, more landscaping has been completed on what we believe will hold a water feature, giving a moat feel to the bridge. In this area, new excavations have also appeared, which look to be for some sort of utility work. In the shadows of the manor sits the Lacey's, where the roof has been aged to match what has been done to the barn at Curse of the Werewolf. A little farther up the pathway sits Burning Blade's Tavern, where the sign for the tavern has been installed on a post which has been in place for the last several months. Next door to Dark Universe sits the wonderful world of Super Nintendo World, where there are several new exciting changes happening all around. Just in front of Peach's castle, new stone theming has been sculpted at the stairs, which gives access to the lower levels of the land. At the Goomba rolling activity, green paint can be seen beginning to appear on the roller which the Goomba runs on. Before guests get to Bowser's Fortress, new music note boxes have been installed on one of the themed structures. At Bowser's Fortress, a good portion of the scaffolding has been removed, giving us our first unobstructed view of the oversized blocks and turrets. This also gives us a great view of the claws at the bottom of the front turrets, which have yet to be sculpted. Around Mount Beanpole, several new spinning coins have been installed in several areas of the mountain, which is the home of Yoshi's Adventure. On the ground level of the land, the sign for the ride has been installed above the entrance and is currently covered in plastic. Around the final scenes of the ride, additional theming can be seen actively being installed. Lastly, we can see the pipes that the ride will travel through are beginning to be shaped as the metal framing is starting to be covered. Behind the Mushroom Kingdom sits the jungle of Donkey Kong Country, where the dividing wall continues to receive themed green paneling to separate the land visually from the rest of Epic Universe. At the base of this wall, we can see permanent fencing beginning to be installed, stretching all the way towards the bottom of the lift hill of Minecart Madness. At the base of the dividing wall sits Funky's Flying By gift shop, where some of the plane panels have been installed on the tail section of the plane, with more sections staged behind Minecart Madness. Towards the entrance to the coaster, the roofing continues to be installed on the Bubbly Barrel snack stand. High above the lift hill for the coaster, behind the character head, we can see water pipes for the first time. This means we are one step closer to seeing water falling into the splash section of the coaster. Along the coaster building, painting continues along the temple ruins, and for the first time, we can see two minecarts visible on the track at the same time, one at each brake run. We know ride testing is going on, however, this should indicate that back-to-back runs are now taking place, or at least preparing for this. Taking a ride across Celestial Park to the Land of Dragons, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Burk. A new orange sphere has been installed over the portal plate, similar to the one at Dark Universe. This sphere overlooks a concrete foundation which has the shape and look of another possible water feature. On the back wall of the main lagoon that meets guests as they enter the land, a new windmill has been added behind the two existing boats. Right above this windmill, a new fish head has been installed on a pedestal above one of the structures inside of the village in front of Mead Hall. Above the retail building on the outskirts of the village, several new dragon houses of various sizes have been installed on the rock formation. The land's coaster of Hiccup's Wing Gliders takes home the prize of most changes in the land this update, with several additional metal frames being installed inside of the queue area, both in the main covering that is attached to the coaster building and a new frame that has been erected behind the entrance to the queue. All around the queue, new rock spires have been built and are now surrounded in scaffolding as they are sculpted. Inside of the first launch of the coaster, where guests will be met by both Hiccup and Toothless, one of the rocks that will propel the coaster down the tracks has been lifted while the other is still on the ground. This confirms how the coaster will be propelled down the tracks in what we believed is the heart of this machine. At the Untrainable Dragon Theater Show, the entrance has begun to receive theming on the entry arch. The entire facade of the theater building will be themed with vertical wooden planks that we have seen in several areas of the land. At the land's target boat ride of Fire Drill, more targets and theming have been installed along the ride path. Several wooden platforms acting as docks have been installed, as well as what looks like a spinning base for targets along the lagoon's wall. Making our way across the land to the spinning flat ride of Dragon Racers Rally, new shrubs have been planted along the wall that separates this attraction from the queue for Hiccup's Winged Gliders. Touching lastly at the kids' playground of Viking Training Camp, several new sections of playground have been installed and a few new vertical beams have been installed in parallel. In recent weeks, there have been some ticketing rumors flying around for Epic Universe. I would just like to point out that the information that was released was for third-party ticketing agencies and not for tickets that are sold directly by Universal. There is still plenty of time for other packages and ticketing options to be released by Universal as they try to manage the demand for this new groundbreaking park. Once again, I would like to thank BioReconstruct for the aerial views of Epic Universe, and we look forward to his next flight. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe so you do not miss the next Universal Epic Universe construction update. If you are struggling to compare Epic Universe to other theme parks size-wise, be sure to watch this video next, where I compare Epic Universe to other theme parks around the United States.